So you can see over here in the green graph that's got a sign in there, you can see that that B value and the phase shift are blended together. There's no parentheses set like we're used to seeing. You can see that over here. And that's going to really jack up the way we understand this graph. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this sign graph over here and we are going to write it in this form. Well, in order to do that, we have to understand what has taken place to get this original piece over here that I've circled in yellow. What's taken place is the B value, or the parentheses, are gone. So the B value has been distributed into that parentheses set. So essentially we get this idea of BX minus BC. Now that may not make much sense, but all I want you to understand is B gets distributed, and by doing that, you multiply B times X and you multiply it by B times C. Now, in order to go backwards, we call that factoring, some stuff that we've done before. So we're going to call that factoring. Well, if we're going to factor it out, we go in the opposite direction. We're going to be going this way. Okay, we're going to be going out. Well, if we're multiplying to go in and we want to go in the opposite direction out, that means we're going to be dividing. Okay, so we're going to be dividing out by that B value. So let's go ahead, and now we've made sense of that a little bit. Let's write what we've got here. We've got X over 3 minus pi over 2. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to take this piece and see what am I actually multiplying X by. Well, if I look at it, I am multiplying X by 1, but I'm also dividing it by 3. So I'm multiplying 1/3 times X minus pi over 2. So when I distribute that value out, I want to get X by itself. I want to get X by itself. And I want to get X by itself. In order to do that, I have to get rid of that 1/3. That means I'm going to have to divide by 1/3. Now, what happens when we divide by a fraction? If we divide by a fraction, that is the same thing as changing the multiplication. So that is the same thing as changing the multiplication, the division, to multiplication and flipping the fraction. So that's the same thing as multiplying by 3, or multiplying by 3 over 1. Let's put it that way. Okay, so we have now divided out by 1/3. So that's going to be on the outside of the parentheses. And when we divide out 1/3, we said that was the same thing as multiplying by 3 over 1. And now we're just going to cancel things out. 3 cancels, 1's cancel, and we're left with just an X. And in this case, we get 3 over 1 times pi over 2. Nothing can cancel. So I'm going to multiply it. 3 times pi, or pi times 3 is 3 pi over 2 times 1, which is 2. And there was subtraction in there. So it's going to be X minus 3 pi over 2. Now let's go ahead and check our work. And just make sure that what we've got is correct right now. So I'm going to make sure it overlaps. So I'm going to put 2 side. I'm going to type in 1/3 as our B value. And I'm going to type in X minus 3 pi over 2. Notice that that completely overlaps that equation. Now, let's go in here. What was our phase shift? We said minus 3 pi over 2, so that is right 3 pi over 2. What is our B value? Our B value was 1/3. And what is our period? Well, remember that period is 2 pi over B. Or in other words, 2 pi over 1/3. That doesn't really clean it up, so I'm going to clean it up below. I'm going to write 2 pi. Once again, we're dividing by a fraction. So I'm going to change the division to multiplication. I'm going to flip that fraction, and it's going to be 2 pi times 3, which is 6 pi over 1. So the period is 6 pi over 1, or just 6 pi. That is going to be our period. So P equals 6 pi. All right. I know that's a little tricky. That is finding the phase shift, the B value in the period, when it's not in the form that we are used to seeing it in our normal routine.